So I am delighted to be joined today by Sophie Chanda-Uka and Melanie Usabi, who are the co-founders of the Black British Business Awards, which is the only premium awards programme to celebrate Black professionals and entrepreneurs across the UK. Virgin's been a sponsor for the last few years, and we are delighted to be involved again this year. So thank you so much, Sophie. Thank you so much, Menli, for joining us today to share your story. I know it's your launch month this month for your year-long programme, so I know you must be very busy. So thank you very, very much for taking the time today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. We're big fans. We are big fans.
Oh, well, I'm a big fan of yours as well. And after this interview, everybody will be. Sophie, as a previous member of our Virgin family, used to work for Virgin, I'll start with you. 7 years ago, you and Menli came together and you launched the first ever Black British Business Awards. Yeah. Why did you think the awards were needed? And can you tell us a little bit about those early days?
Wow. So thank you so much, Holly, and for pronouncing the names perfectly, you get 5 stars. So look, the Black British Business Awards. So Melanie and I are Black, clearly, but Melanie has Caribbean heritage. I have African heritage. Both of us grew up in different parts of the world, you know, Canada, Switzerland for Mel. I was in Southern Africa, Canada, the United States. One of the things that wasn't really apparent to us until we grew up was that the color of our skin might be a limiting factor in terms of our capacity to dream and our ability to do the things that we thought we were capable of. I grew up in a majority Black place. I saw Black excellence everywhere. I was born with Nelson Mandela and Winnie Mandela, and Ghana had been liberated for years, and excellence was just everything I saw around me. And really, what I could do next was really a function of how big I was prepared to dream and whether I was prepared to do the work. But when we came, I guess, to the United Kingdom, and I'll speak specifically for me, it became quite apparent to me that there were young children who actually disqualified themselves from even dreaming because they didn't see themselves in the buildings, you know, near St. Paul's or at London Bridge or at Canary Wharf. They didn't imagine that they could walk through those doors and be business decision makers and be engineers. And there was something that needed to be done about that, because the best gift that I had was growing up and seeing Black excellence around me and never even realizing that my race was a limiting factor. So we knew we needed to do something about creating that capacity to imagine your life beyond the color of your skin. Then there was the second thing, which is as you grow up, now you have a serious job and you're working for these amazing companies, of which I've been really fortunate to work in great companies, but you don't see enough of you. The brochures and the publicity and the websites all promise you that you're going to be valued for your unique sort of selling proposition, your multicultural background, you will fit in. But there's something that's inconsistent when you actually walk in the building and you look at the leadership team, you look at the people who do the sexy work, you get how clients are allocated and how all of the big deals are allocated amongst your colleagues. And sometimes you're left out for reasons that you can't quite explain. And when you ask the question, why is it that the brochures are not quite consistent with what I'm seeing here? The answer is, well, we don't know where to find Black people, and we're not sure that the talent exists, and we've tried really hard, but you don't exist. So we thought that there was a place for a conversation to first of all demonstrate that that just wasn't true. Black people and Black talent exists, and we exist in meaningful numbers. There's no reason why on the cover of the Financial Times we shouldn't see a Black person on a regular basis, because we're here and we're making a contribution that's meaningful, you know, to the great British economy. So we were answering the question were putting to us, which is, where is the talent? But equally, we were trying to create a place to inspire young people to believe that they can be whoever they want to be. provided they're prepared to do the work and they build relationships that work for them. So that is at the heart of the Black British Business Awards. Maybe I'll hand over to Mel to talk about the early years.
Early years. Sophie and I, we say that the first award ceremony was in 2014, but just from a startup perspective, I would say that the work started much earlier than that. We were on the ground with our pitch decks, and we were, flogging the idea and the concept of the awards to every person that we knew. We were having focus groups with key members of our community to say, well, what should it be called and what kinds of things should we be considering? But I think that most importantly, we, as co-founders, it was so critical for us to have the same vision, and it was big. It was a really, and it was really difficult to find other people who were thinking as big as us. We knew we wanted a ceremony, but we also knew that we wanted to change the game. So I think from the look back now, I would say that you may not know what the destination is as a co-founder. You may not know how exactly it's going to manifest, but you do need someone who will dream big with you and also has the same type of vision, as well as in terms of what we're striving for. And so, yes, it was rough in the beginning. I have to say, it was like flogging a dead horse, and then all of a sudden, that one moment that changes the game. It really does. And there are a few moments that really change the game for us. So I would say for every entrepreneur, keep on trying, keep on going, keep on talking to these groups.
Exactly. And I just love that what you guys do. It's multifaceted. So it's not just about awards and celebrating people, which is really important, but it's about your year-long networking and knowledge sharing and learning from each other. And I think that's so right about that being able to see people who look like you in roles that you want to aspire to do. Otherwise you think, oh, well, I could never do that. Whereas you are very much opening the doors to people who are Black to actually see, no, there are people out there who look like you and they are flying in life, they're doing great things, and you can too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And Holly, do you know Mel and I didn't know each other before the awards?
Oh, you did?
We didn't know each other. We were brought together by friends. We have mutual friends who are Karen and Max, who founded a fantastic organization called Every Woman. And they'd heard Mal tell a similar story in different words as I had about why is it like this here and can we do something about it? And one of the most important things I think to the founding story is you need friends and allies who understand what you're trying to do, who may have already done something similar and are prepared to be evangelists and to help you along. So we had this trampoline, and Karen and Max, white women, don't really, know the lived experience of being Black, but they understood where we were coming from when we were saying we need to create visible impact that allows for us to create a community that can then be a change agent for really big things. And they literally gave us their blueprint. They said, we have an awards program called the Every Woman Awards. Come and sit with our team, meet Katie. She produces the event, walk through it, recalibrate it, figure out what might work for your community. And this is a gift from us, right? The importance of generosity of spirit. People who knew nothing about the subject, importance of what we were trying to do.
Yeah, allyship's a word that's been used a lot this year. And for everybody watching at the moment, how would you say that they become active allies, and how would we all get involved?
How do we get involved? So allyship is activity. So it's not just believing in something, it's what can I do about it. It's also allyship. I would encourage everyone not to be scared, that you should be trying to operate from where you are and giving what you can. But I think most importantly for me, it would be advocating for people who are not necessarily in the room with you. So there's a certain privilege of space that I am afforded, whether it be because of my class or because of my race or because of my gender, that other people may not be allowed in the same spaces. And so I advocate for those who are underrepresented. for the Black community, particularly in regards to our white allies, then some of the best allies that we have advocated for us in spaces that we did not have access to, that we may not even have known about.
You don't
They
know
look,
they exist.
don't know. You look around the table and you say, wait a minute, everyone around the table looks like me. And so how do I advocate for those who should be at this table who do not look like me? And that is it in its simplest forms. And why I try to make it as simple as possible, because in terms of the work that we do with our allies, because quite frankly, the majority of our sponsors and supporters are white allies. And I make a joke Sophie all the time. I was like, you know what? Our program is actually not for Black people. I don't need someone else to tell me how diverse I am. It is for our white allies. It's a vehicle for sharing privilege. It's a vehicle for sharing access. And that's essentially what allyism is. It's fighting on someone else's behalf. It's lending your power to a cause, power that you may not even realize that you have, and ensuring that and opening up the door wider beside you and behind you so that people can come in after you who do not necessarily look or exist as you do. And that's all a personal thing, but because I just feel so bad sometimes. But I feel like, some white people are just like, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna say the wrong thing? I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm like, brother, just look around the room, be like, wait a minute, there's no Black women here.
Just say that.
Just say it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's interesting what Mel is saying.
Teaching people that. So how do you go about with the Black British Business Awards and what you do throughout the year? How do you go about the networking, the learning, the sort of helping each other, the sharing of knowledge? Do you put on events? Do you go out and actively search for people? Could you give us a little bit more of an explanation of that?
Well, Sophie can talk to you about the event we were just talking about.
Yes. So here's the thing. You're right, Holly. So I mentioned earlier that what we wanted to do was create a community that we could then activate, right, for bigger impact, multiply everybody's voices. So at the start of the year, we start with nominations, right? What's in a nomination, you would say? The idea that someone taps you on your shoulder and says you're good enough or you're brilliant is an amazing gift to give someone when they just need that boost. Just you get points for just being nominated, right? And you get a good feeling for your organization or your line manager or your department head saying, we're putting you forward for this award program. And in that nomination, you kind of have to tell the story of why this person is brilliant. And so now you are engaging the comms team, the line manager, the employee networks, the people who this person has worked with, to help them to see just how brilliant they are, but equally as reminders in the organization for how important it is, for us to continue to have a talent pipeline that's strong so we can do future nominations. So it sounds as simple as nominate somebody, but actually there are a lot of people who get involved in that process, which means everybody is investing in not only the storytelling, but pumping up this individual who feels like, hey, everybody around me actually believes in me. And isn't that amazing, right? So reward and recognition is really important part of creating an environment where everybody thinks they can succeed. And we actually then have, well, I don't know what we're going to do with this virtual stuff, but we normally will actually have a celebration where we say, bring everybody who you would love to nominate, right? So it's not just the people who end up being finalists, but it may be Virgin, BNY Mellon, Goldman's, WPP. Bring in people that they think are fantastic rising stars in their organizations. And at that event, we normally have speakers. So we may basically have a masterclass. It kind of feels like a social event, Fortnum and Mason, nice champagne and all that cool stuff. But you bring a speaker who talks about the snakes and ladders of their career. So in that audience, we have allies who are hearing from a senior executive about what it's like to be Black navigating corporate PLC. And they're hearing it. You're not sort of forcing the rising star to tell their line managers and all the allies about how hard it is, but you're allowing for the allies to see that the experience is not just a bad or difficult experience in their organization, but you're not alone. Many organizations are facing the same issues. So by doing that, we create a safe space to have uncomfortable conversations, but in a storytelling sort of triumphant way, right? Nomination. Then we have judging. So the judging day, again, we like to create an experience for everybody. And what we ask for our sponsors, our partners, is nominate a judge. We want it to be a senior executive in the organization who has a material influence in strategy, in people, in talent. And these are often probably not going to be Black people. So they come to judging day and then they see this amazing, amazing plethora of talent in the nomination form. Some people bring video clips, they have articles in the press. And again, it's our subtle way of awakening our executive sponsors, our senior leaders, to the fact that that refrain that you're hearing from the HR team that the talent exists does not exist. Not quite true. Because I just went to an awards program or judging day today, and there was a lot of this. So how can we get a lot of that in our organization? And then, of course, we have the ceremony. That's the crown jewel. To be honest, in a year like this, it's a place where you can see Black in all its beautiful glory, because what we see in the press right now is tragic, it's heartbreaking. It makes you feel like as Black people, you're never winning. You're just never winning. The odds are not in your favor. They were never in your favor 400 years ago, and you're not sure whether or not you're in a better place now. So the ceremony is a place to say, hang on, progress has been made. We're stronger together. And well done, you, right, for the resilience and for accomplishing what you've accomplished. So those, I would say, are the events that really, really create the Black British Business Awards. We have other talent acceleration programs that happen throughout the year: mid-career professionals, boardroom, executive sponsors, allies, actual training, good content, good evidence-based academic sort of rigorous training. But the fun and beautiful stuff is the runway to the award ceremony itself.
Well, that fun and beautiful stuff that you've just been talking about gave me shivers down my spine. It's absolutely amazing what you do. I really do think that just that lifting up, and I love just what you were saying about visibility, and everyone can see people like them, but the allies are there to realize, do you know what, I can go back to my business, I can say to them, we're doing this wrong. There are many people out there that would be perfect for the company. And I just think that is just fantastic. Earlier this year, just sort of to change topic slightly, we had the tragic murder of George Floyd. And that did shine a global light on systemic racism. And I would like to feel that for the first time, the world is stepping up and demanding an end to racism and end to discrimination. Do you think that change is actually happening? And how do we work together to sort of harness this momentum of the Black Lives Matter movement and to bring about positive change? I don't know whether Melanie, if you want to.
Yeah, it has changed the game. I do see the fight for diversity and inclusion as a boxing match, where it's not done with one knockout punch. It's several well-placed blows that hurt, and then sometimes the final blow is what keels one of the boxers over, but it's never usually a knockout punch. Very rarely is a match won by a knockout punch. And why I say that is because the tragedy of George Floyd and the subsequent rise of the acceleration of the Black Lives Matter movement, there have been so many game-changing little blows that have happened along the way that have facilitated that. So when we saw the protests, one of the things that that really, really warmed my heart was that I no longer felt that I was doing this by myself. It was never Sophie and myself just kind of forcing people to come alongside and believe in what we're trying to say. It was no longer that. It was a clear opportunity for our white allies, for every ally to stand alongside us. And so there's a picture that we have in Poznan, in Rome, in London, in New York, in Toronto, in Montreal, in Bangladesh, in Rio, of Black Lives Matter protests, and it was not just Black faces protesting. Why I put that in the context of a boxing match is because I recall one of my favorite moments of the awards, and Sophie and I, it was one moment with Virgin, the Virgin sponsor, executive sponsor. He was introducing, and he was a white man, and he was introducing one of the awards and explaining the support that Virgin had given and why, and what that meant. And he said, you know what, everyone, it's, you know, Black people have been fighting for themselves, fighting by themselves for a long time, and now it's time for white people to fight alongside them. And that happened 2 years before George Floyd and the rise of allyism in accordance to Black Lives Matter. And I would say that it was another one of those micro kind of blows that contributed towards a big punch of allies feeling comfortable enough to join us in the struggle, to say that we were making platforms for us not to be, you know, the 10 or 15% minority and kind of shouldering the burden by ourselves, where literally the cloak has been taken off the both of us and people are coming. Even our team has widened in regards to with like there's a woman of Chinese descent, a woman of Polish descent, and they are just as passionate, if not as passionate, if not more passionate than us in regards to Black Lives Matter. So I think that unfortunately, these kinds of blows have to happen in order to create the space in the narrative for other people to be involved in the fight with us. And it's so unfortunate that this had to happen, but it has happened. And I do think it's created room for people to actually see the gross indignity, something that quite frankly as Black people we already knew was happening. So you know, this was not something new for us. It was something that was reinforced on film and shown to the rest of the world. It was an ugly stain that we've been living.
Absolutely awful. And what you know, that's the one that was caught on film. And there's so many more situations like that happen all the time that aren't caught on camera. And a question for you to end with, for all of those watching who would like to become active allies, how do we get involved?
So you take that one.
Well, yes. No, I don't really know what I'm going to say, but I do want to tell maybe a little bit of a story that helps you, Holly, with the point that you made earlier about how can you help. I always talk about the fact that you know, I had a fantastic boss here at Morgan Stanley who was in an elevator with me one day and says, yes, Sophie, I'm going to do this opening remarks for you for Black History Month. But to be honest, I don't know why you asked me to do this, because you're going to do well anyway. So I actually don't understand why you spend so much time on what you spend time on. And I said, well, here's the thing. When I walk into a room right now, we're going to the 11th floor, the executive suite. When I walk into the room, they're expecting to see you. You're tall, you're white, you're blonde, you're middle-aged. They're expecting to see you. If I walk in there by myself, they're not expecting to see me. They probably think I'm the secretary. They're going to ask if I'm going to serve the coffee, and they might ask when the senior advisor is going to attend, when I am the senior advisor. So what you need to understand is when you walk into a room, your stock is at 100, my stock is at 40. And in those first 45 seconds, I need to figure out how to become a trusted advisor to that person who was not planning to see a Black female walk into the room as the person they need to trust with this $5 billion trade, right? So we did a deal, and what my boss did was he literally opened his Rolodex, looked at his top 10 buddies in the business, created a roadshow, and the deal was this. We would create a reason to have meetings with these individuals, good reasons. I would present. When questions were asked, people normally would look to him and say, what's the answer? He would defer to me. And if people insisted, he would say, no, she's the subject matter expert, right?
Sure, Ally.
When we walked into the room, he would say, I'm here, we're talking about Sophie's the expert. Those simple things have allowed me not to be concerned about negotiating the emotional tax, right, of becoming a trusted advisor every time I walk into a room that I'm technically not welcome. So do that. Just give somebody else your coattails to ride on, and it'll make a tremendous difference to their career. And to the Black person, don't get hung up on whether your coach or your mentor or your advisor or your sponsor is a white person. It's a gift. Ride the coattails and have the conversation.
Thank you both for such a riveting conversation, and I've learned a lot. I'm sure lots of others will learn a lot, and I just think what you guys do is fantastic. So good luck with your event this year. I know it'll be slightly different virtually, but I'm sure it will still be amazing, and it's just so great to celebrate all the wonderful Black people who have created such great companies across the UK. So thank you both so much, and enjoy.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. So apologies for my last question being wrong, but you got it in there.
It's fine.
That's okay.